Welcome back to Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com. Well, we made it to the segment called Garage Ed, and it's all about the suspension fundamentals, my friend. What do we want to talk about? Well, we want to talk about types of suspension, and you can look at this first graphic right here. There's an independent suspension and a non-independent suspension. Well, obviously, the independent suspension down there, you can see the wheels, they move opposite of each other. And the rear axle or rigid suspension, the non-independent, they actually go with each other. So you're gonna have a nice ride with that independent suspension. Then there's this term called sprung and unsprung weight when it comes to suspension. You can see it right here as well. Everything below the vehicle springs down there, that's called unsprung weight, everything down in there. Now that's important because manufacturers are making cars lighter, they're making the rims out of alloys, the brakes out of composites to try to reduce the sprung weight so a car will actually handle better. Now let's talk about a couple types of suspensions. You can see this first one right here. This is called an SLA, short long arm suspension system. And if you take a look at the graphic right there, you can see the upper control arm. It's the green one up there, which is the short one. Then the lower control arm, that's the long one. Hence the term SLA, short long arm suspension system. In the yellow out there is the steering knuckle, and then you have the actual stabilizer bar and the sway bar links down there. Now even better yet, I can show it to you in action right here. I actually have an S10 frame with everything on it. You can see right here, you have the upper control arm. This is the short arm. Down here is the long arm. That's the lower control arm, sometimes called an A-frame. Then you have the actual spindle assembly right here located in red. And then here's the sway bar that goes across. The sway bar links. And then you have the yellow here, which is the tie rod end. Short long arm suspension system. Now another type is a McPherson strut. Take a look at this right here. You can see it with the coil springs. You can have the springs on or off the actual strut. And once again, here it is all in action. You can see it right here. You can see the actual strut assembly all bolted up right here. Start down here at the bottom. Down here at the bottom, here's your actual knuckle right here, your steering knuckle, your steering shaft, coming up to an actual strut assembly. Now your strut assembly has the spring built in, the actual spring which supports the vehicle weight. And then up here you have what's called a strut bushing. You turn it to the right or to the left, and you may run into some problems. Now to check a suspension system, just get a ginormous pry bar. Come over here, start prying up and down, and you'll find some problems.
You said ginormous pry bar. I've got one for you, John.
Dave, you always got to outdo me.
You get a little more leverage that way. It'll be good. And here's some of the parts John showed you, and here's what can go wrong. This is a control arm that has seen better days, and you can see here on the bushing, clearly that thing is shot. And over here, ball joint, same story. The grease is all gone and the bushing is shot. You want to get rid of this and replace this entire control arm. You can buy the assembly at rockauto.com. And of course here we have a sway bar link and the bushings are shot on this. That is no good. And over here on your tie rod, yeah, you don't want to hear that flopping around. That thing is history. And John, you talked about the strut bushing. Take a look at this one. This is dry rotted and gross. And it's going to make all kinds of noise and it's not going to work very well. All these suspension parts, they all stink.
Well, speaking of stinks, you don't want to miss this. If you have a cabin odor inside your car, stick around because the Master Technician's Tech Tip is coming up next, right after this break. Dave, I can't get over the pry bar.
Hey, you sitting there in your easy chair drinking your morning coffee? Hope you're loving this episode of Tech Garage. Guess what? Another way to do it again Sunday morning on Motorhead Garage.
Absolutely. Motorhead Garage is all about products, people, vehicles, all kinds of cool things.
Do not miss Motorhead Garage.
Here it is.